The scary truth about space pirates? How did humans defeat them? The Aurora Voyager glided through Quorg Space, 12 light-years from the Solara system's orderly embrace. Its sleek hull, etched with the Alliance's helix sigil, thrummed with the low pulse of ion drives, trailing faint blue wisps into the black. Asteroids spun lazily beyond, their craggy forms scattering sensor pings in a lawless expanse, where peace was a fragile hope. Captain Zephyra commanded from the bridge, her olive skin lit by the soft glow of holographic displays. Her black hair, streaked with silver, was bound in a tight braid, a mark of discipline honed in border skirmishes. A faint scar traced her jaw, a relic of a near miss with a plasma blade. She leaned over the central console, eyes sharp on isotope scans. Rare xenocrystals flickered in the data, promising breakthroughs for Solara's energy cores. Lieutenant Lyra worked the tactical station, her wiry frame hunched, pale blue eyes flicking across streams of coordinates. Her fingers danced, mapping a debris field in Grid 7. The Voyager's crew, 120 researchers and explorers, carried the Alliance's mission, discovery laced with diplomacy. But Zephyra kept them razor-ready. The void forgave no lapses. Alarms shattered the quiet. Red strobes pulsed, bathing the bridge in crimson. The ship lurched as electromagnetic mines detonated, their blue arcs crackling across the forward view screen. Ion thrusters whined, then died. Emergency shutdowns clamping power to auxiliaries. The Voyager drifted, a wounded beast in the dark. Sensors screamed. 15 Quorg corvettes, their angular hulls cloaked in light-bending alloys, emerged from the shadows. Pirates from Erden's brutal wastes, scaled and merciless, they struck with surgical cruelty. Boarding grapples fired, magnetic claws biting the Voyager's flank, with screeches that vibrated through the deck. Zephyra's hand gripped her chair. Evasive pattern delta, she snapped. Full shields. But crippled thrusters gave no escape. Bulkheads slammed shut, sealing the bridge into a fortress. Crew yanked kinetic rifles from lockers, Solara standard, loaded with armor-piercing slugs, and formed a defensive line behind consoles. Commander Kale, broad-shouldered, gray eyes cold with calculation, patched into engineering. Reroute auxiliary power to secondary shields, he said, fingers flying over controls. Blue fields flickered to life, a thin veil against the onslaught. It bought minutes, nothing more, as Quorg plasma cutters glowed orange, carving through outer hulls, venting air in fleeting white plumes. Lyra launched the distress beacon, priority codes flooding Solara channels with their coordinates. A hidden glitch, born of a rushed system patch, diverted the signal to human relays, far beyond Alliance nets. The plea streaked into the unknown, a spark in the void. Sensors pinged, a fleet approaching, 0.2 astronomical units out, signatures garbled. Allies, Quorg trap? Zephyra shoved doubt aside. Armed turrets, she ordered. 50 megajoule lasers, target their pods. Gunners complied, capacitors humming as beams charged, ready to slice through metal like cloth. Pirates breached the outer hull. Airlocks hissed open, spilling scaled raiders into corridors. Their kinetic rifles barked, slugs pinging off barricades. Green ichor sprayed as a Solara slug hit true, dropping a raider. Zephyra drew her pulse pistol, 10 plasma bolts per clip, each a searing lance, and fired, searing a pirate's arm. He howled, retreating into smoke. Kyle bolstered shields, diverting life support power. The air thickened, recyclers straining, but fields held against a plasma grenade's ripple. Outside, corvettes circled, their point defense guns stitching crimson tracers across the Voyager's hull. Lyra deployed drones, fist-sized, packed with micro-explosives, into vents, where they detonated, shredding a raider's harness in a muffled blast. The unknown fleet clarified. Angular destroyers, railgun spines gleaming, torpedo bays wide, human signatures, whispers of a species that clawed from one world to dominate stars, their names synonymous with war and salvation. Zephyra's scar itched, but she held position, pistol ready. Pirates pressed harder, cutters breaching a secondary airlock. Raiders spilled through, vibro axes swinging. The crew met them, rifles cracking in unison, slugs punching scales. A young engineer landed a shot, toppling a pirate. Zephyra fired twice, the bolts burning through armor, her braids swinging as she vaulted a console. The human fleet warped in, engines flaring like suns. 8 destroyers unleashed torpedoes, 10 kiloton yields, quantum-guided, smashing a corvette into glowing wreckage. The Quorg swarm scattered, stealth fields flickering. Marines deployed, exosuits jetting with 500 kilonewton thrusts, slamming onto the Voyager's hull like meteors. Ramps opened, humans storming inside. Their flechette rifles spat high-velocity darts, shredding a pirate's chest in a spray of ichor. Solara crew joined, lasers crossing with darts in the cargo bay. A Marine's exosuit crushed a vibro axe underfoot, its owner felled by a precise burst. The tide turned, pirates faltering under combined fire. Lyra synced targeting arrays to human systems, lasers and railguns dancing in unison. A corvette spun, engines gutted by a laser pulse, then shattered by a torpedo. The remaining Quorg ships fled, diving into Quorg Space's shadows. But victory was fleeting. Sensors screamed from the reactor bay. Lyra's scans locked on. A fusion bomb, wired to the Voyager's core, 2 megaton yield, 15 minutes ticking. Zephyra holstered her pistol, scar burning. Kyle, Lyra, reactor now! They sprinted, boots pounding through debris-choked corridors, human Marines covering with rifles raised. The bay loomed, coolant pipes hissing, the bomb a black parasite pulsing red. Kyle torched safety locks, reactor gauges spiking to 90% critical. Lyra patched to human engineers, their drones inbound. Outside, 5 Quorg frigates emerged from an asteroid belt, plasma lances charging. Zephyra's knife hovered over the bomb's wires. 90 seconds remained. Her hand steadied, resolve a blade's edge. The cut came, sparks flared, then died. The timer froze at 87 seconds, the device dark. Silence fell, heavy as the void. Zephyra sagged, breath ragged. Kyle exhaled, hands trembling but steady. The fight paused, but Quorg Space whispered of more to come. The Aurora Voyager limped under flickering shields, its hull scarred from Quorg claws. The bridge hummed with tension, consoles sparking where pirate rounds had bitten deep. Captain Zephyra steadied herself against a bulkhead, her braid frayed but her gaze unyielding. The distress signal's echo still haunted the readouts, misrouted to a human fleet, now blazing toward them at 3-star systems remove. Admiral Rowan commanded from the Titan's Resolve, a human destroyer bristling with railguns. His flagship led 7 others, each housing 300 Marines in exosuits that could punch through steel. Their hulls gleamed silver gray, cutting the void with predatory grace. Sensors locked the Voyager's position 20 minutes out from warp. Rowan's orders crackled through encrypted channels. Secure the ship, crush the pirates. On the Voyager, Lieutenant Lyra recalibrated defenses. Her fingers flew over tactical displays, deploying a swarm of 30 drones, each a meter-wide sphere packed with micro-explosives. They buzzed into corridors, targeting Quorg boarders, still skulking in maintenance shafts. One drone detonated, shredding a pirate's armor in a flash of shrapnel. Green ichor splattered a vent, but more raiders pressed forward, kinetic rifles chewing through deck plating. Commander Kale knelt at a secondary console, gray eyes scanning power flows. He patched targeting arrays to sync with human transponders, a gamble to merge fire control. The Voyager's turrets hummed, capacitors recharging for 50 megajoule pulses. Shields flickered at 30%, straining under stray plasma hits from retreating corvettes. Outside, the human fleet emerged from warp, engines flaring like newborn stars. 8 destroyers fanned out, their railguns charging with a low whine that vibrated space. 10 kiloton torpedoes launched in a synchronized salvo, quantum-guided warheads slamming into Quorg corvettes. 2 pirate ships erupted, hulls crumpling into glowing wrecks. The rest scattered, their stealth fields flickering under the barrage. Zephyra gripped her pulse pistol, its grip warm from earlier fire. She opened a comm channel, voice steady despite the chaos. "Quorg leader, this is Captain Zephyra. Stand down, or you're dust." Static answered, laced with guttural laughs. The pirates weren't yielding. They were stalling. She kept the line open, buying seconds as human ships closed the gap. Marines deployed from the Titan's resolve. Drop pods screamed across the void, exosuits jetting with 500 kilonewton thrusts. They hit the Voyager's hull, magnetic boots clamping onto breached sections. Ramps hissed open, and 30 humans stormed inside, their flechette rifles spitting high-velocity darts. Each Marine moved with precision, exosuits amplifying steps into thunder. They swept Cargo Bay Alpha, where pirates had dug in behind crates. The bay became a crucible. Solara crew joined the fray, their slug rifles barking alongside human volleys. Lasers crisscrossed, searing air to ozone. A Quorg raider lunged with a vibro-axe, only to meet a Marine's powered fist. Bones cracked under 2 tons of force. The pirate crumpled, scales splintering. Another raider fired, kinetic rounds pinging off exosuit plating. A human retaliated, flechettes shredding the attacker's chest in a spray of ichor. Lyra's drones flanked the enemy, weaving through smoke to detonate at choke points. One blast collapsed a makeshift barricade, burying 3 pirates in twisted metal. The Solara crew pushed forward, emboldened by human ferocity. A young engineer, barely trained, landed a slug in a raider's leg, dropping him. Zephyra nodded approval, her pistol covering the advance. Kale's voice cut through comms. "Targeting sync complete. Human fire linked." The Voyager's turrets pivoted, lasers slashing a corvette's engine core. It spun, trailing plasma, before a human torpedo finished it in a silent bloom of fire. The remaining Quorg ships tightened formation, their point defense guns spitting crimson to hold the line. But the pirates weren't done. As they retreated, sensors screamed, a new signature in the reactor bay. Lyra's scans locked on. A fusion bomb, its core rigged to Voyager fuel lines. 2 megaton yield, timer ticking at 15 minutes. The bridge froze for a heartbeat, eyes darting to Zephyra. She holstered her pistol, scar itching under strain. "Kyle, Lyra, with me. Engineering now." They sprinted, boots pounding grated decks. Human Marines followed, their exosuits clearing debris with hydraulic strength. Corridors twisted, sparks raining from severed conduits. The air thickened, recyclers choking on dust. Outside, Rowan's destroyers pressed the assault. A corvette tried to flee, only to meet a railgun slug, 12 kilometers per second, punching through its hull. The wreck spun into an asteroid, shattering silently. But 5 Quorg frigates emerged from a nearby belt, their plasma lances charging with 5 gigajoule fury. Human shields flared, absorbing 80% of the barrage. But hulls groaned under the strain. In the reactor bay, the bomb squatted amid coolant pipes, its casing a matte black menace. Red digits counted down. 12 minutes. Kyle dropped to his knees, bypassing safety locks with a plasma torch. The reactor hummed dangerously, gauges creeping toward critical. Zephyra scanned the device, wires snaking like veins, pulsing with stolen power. Lyra patched into human comms, requesting aid. Rowan's engineers responded, guiding remote drones with precision cutters. The drones arrived, hovering like metallic wasps, their tools slicing into the bomb's casing. Kale's hands stayed steady, rerouting coolant to stabilize the core. A bead of sweat traced his brow, but caution gave way to focus. The timer hit 10 minutes. Zephyra's knife hovered over a primary circuit. One wrong cut, and the reactor would cascade. She exhaled, steadying her grip. The blade bit through insulation, severing a conduit. Sparks flared, then died. The timer froze at 9 minutes. 50 seconds. Silence gripped the bay. Kyle slumped, breath ragged. The Marines stood guard, rifles trained on shadows. Lyra's console pinged, frigates retreating, their formation broken by human torpedoes. 2 enemy ships burned, venting plasma into the void. Zephyra leaned against a pipe, exhaustion clawing her limbs. Her scar burned, but resolve flared brighter. The Voyager held, patched and scarred. Humans and Solara crew exchanged glances, trust forged in fire, fragile but real. Outside, the human fleet regrouped, destroyers forming a defensive ring. Rowan's voice crackled through. "Captain, we've got your back. Pirates are running. What's next?" Zephyra straightened, braids swinging as she turned to her crew. "We pursue. They don't get to walk away." The bridge stirred, purpose reigniting. Kale nodded, gray eyes sharp. Lyra recalibrated sensors, tracking the fleeing corvettes. The humans' railguns hummed, ready for the hunt. Quorg Space loomed, its shadows hiding threats. No rest waited. The fight rolled on. The Aurora Voyager groaned under its wounds, hull plates scorched and buckled from the Quorg assault. Emergency lights cast jagged shadows across the reactor bay, where the fusion bomb's red timer pulsed like a heartbeat. 9 minutes, 40 seconds remained. 2 megatons of annihilation wired into the ship's core. Captain Zephyra stood over the device, her olive skin slick with sweat, braid fraying at the edges. Her scar throbbed, a reminder of battle survived. But this was no time for memory. She gripped a plasma knife, its blade humming faintly, poised above a tangle of conduits. Commander Kale worked beside her, his broad frame hunched over a diagnostic panel. His gray eyes flicked across readouts, fingers bypassing safety locks with surgical precision. The reactor hummed dangerously, its coolant lines straining as he diverted power to stabilize the core. Radiation warnings flashed. Gauges teetered at 90% critical. One misstep, and the Voyager would become a starburst in Quorg Space's void. Lieutenant Lyra coordinated from a portable console, her wiry form braced against a bulkhead. Her pale blue eyes tracked drone feeds as human engineers, patched in from the Titan's resolve, guided their machines. The drones, sleek, meter-long units with laser cutters, hovered around the bomb, slicing into its casing with pinpoint accuracy. Each cut sparked, metal glowing orange, as they exposed the device's inner lattice of wires and fuel cells. Outside, the human fleet held the line. Admiral Rowan's destroyers, 6 still operational, formed a defensive perimeter around the Voyager. Their ablative shields glowed under plasma barrages from 5 Quorg frigates, lurking in the asteroid belt 0.3 astronomical units away. The enemy ships, each a hulking mass of spiked armor, unleashed 5 gigajoule lances, carving furrows across human hulls. 80% of the hits dissipated, absorbed by layered plating, but one destroyer vented atmosphere, a white plume trailing into the dark. Zephyra's knife hovered. The bomb's timer ticked to 8 minutes. She traced a primary circuit, thick cables feeding stolen fuel from the reactor. One cut could kill it or trigger a cascade. "Kyle, status!" she snapped, voice steady despite the heat rising in the bay. "Core's holding," Cal replied, hands steady on his torch. 92% risk of meltdown if we push harder." He severed a lockout valve, and coolant hissed free. The reactor's whine softened, but gauges flickered red. Lyra's console pinged. Pirate frigates advancing. They're targeting our engines. She redirected drones, tasking half to reinforce the Voyager's rear shields. The machines jetted aft, their micro-explosives ready to intercept missiles. One detonated, shredding an incoming warhead in a flash of shrapnel. Human Marines guarded the bay's entrance, exosuits looming like steel titans. Their flechette rifles swept corridors where Quorg stragglers still lurked. A pirate burst through a vent, vibroax swinging. A Marine's rifle barked. Darts punched through scales, dropping the raider in a spray of ichor. The humans held position, their thrusters humming faintly, ready to jet toward new breaches. Zephyra's blade bit into the circuit. Sparks flew, singeing her glove. The timer paused, then resumed, 7 minutes. Her heart thudded. Wrong wire. She traced another, eyes narrowing. Kyle patched a coolant override, buying seconds as the reactor stabilized at 90%. The air grew thick, recyclers choking on metallic dust. Lyra's voice cut through. Frigates splitting, 2 breaking for the belt. Her scans predicted their arcs, feeding data to Rowan's fleet. The Titan's resolve pivoted, railguns spitting slugs at 12 kilometers per second. One frigate buckled, its bow crumpling into debris. The others veered, plasma lances dimming as they retreated under the onslaught. The bomb's casing lay open now, human drones peeling back layers like surgeons. Their cutters exposed a secondary circuit, a fail-safe rigged to detonate if tampered with. Zephyra's knife steadied. 6 minutes. She glanced at Kale, who nodded, his caution burned away by necessity. He rerouted the last coolant line, risking a surge to keep the core from spiking. Lyra directed Marine squads to choke points, her tactical scans mapping pirate movements. A squad of 10 humans sealed a breached airlock, their exosuits shrugging off kinetic rounds. One Marine tossed a nanite grenade. Its blast scrambled a pirate's cloaking field, revealing him for a clean shot. The Solara crew, inspired, manned auxiliary turrets, firing 100 laser pulses per minute to cover the squads. The timer hit 90 seconds. Zephyra's scar burned as she isolated the failsafe wire. Thin, blue, pulsing with microcurrents. One cut left. Her hand trembled, then stilled. The blade sliced clean. The timer froze, digits locked at 87 seconds. The bomb's hum died, its core dark. Silence gripped the bay. Zephyra sagged against a pipe, breath ragged. Kyle exhaled, wiping sweat from his brow. The Marines lowered rifles, exosuits hissing as they powered down. Lyra's console showed the frigates retreating fully, their signatures fading into the asteroid belt's clutter. Outside, Rowan's destroyers regrouped, 2 trailing debris from heavy hits. The Titan's resolve held firm, its railguns cooling but ready. A Marine relayed Rowan's message. Perimeter secure, Captain. Pirates are running scared. Zephyra pushed off the pipe, braids swinging as she straightened. Her scar settled, resolve now a blade's edge. Good work, she said, voice low but firm. The crew stirred, exhaustion mingling with relief. Humans and Solara exchanged nods, a fragile bond forged in shared fire. Lyra scanned the reactor. Core's stable, 90% nominal. Her fingers paused, then tapped again. Pirate signatures fading, but they're not gone. Likely regrouping. Kyle holstered his torch. We can't stay here. Hull's too battered. Zephyra nodded. Set course for the nearest moon, 0.8 AU out. Safe orbit. She turned to the Marine lead. Your people with us? The Marine's exosuit whirred as he saluted. Rowan's orders, ma'am. We stick until the job's done. The Voyager's engines coughed to life, auxiliary thrusters pushing through the damage. The fleet formed up, human destroyers flanking the research ship like sentinels. Quorg Space stretched beyond, its shadows thick with threat. The pirates' retreat wasn't a surrender, just a pause. Zephyra paced the bridge, her steps deliberate. 87 survivors remained, their faces etched with grit and loss. The humans' arrival had shifted the tide, but their reputation, 7 interstellar wars in a century, hung heavy. Allies or predators? The question lingered. Lyra plotted the course, sensors sweeping for ambushes. Cal recalibrated power grids, coaxing the shields to 40%. The moon loomed on screens, a cratered refuge orbiting a gas giant's faint rings. Safety for now. But the bomb's silence didn't end the fight. Quorg raiders thrived on revenge, and their derelict station, 3 kilometers of fortified chaos, waited somewhere in the dark. Zephyra's hand brushed her pistol. No rest. The pursuit was coming. The bridge hummed again, purpose reigniting. Crew moved with renewed focus, patching systems, readying weapons. The humans' railguns gleamed on sensors, their torpedo bays loaded. A joint force took shape, uneasy but unbreakable. Zephyra's eyes locked on the void. "Track those frigates," she ordered. "We end this." The Voyager turned, engines flaring. Quorg Space swallowed them, its silence a lie. The Aurora Voyager limped into orbit around a barren moon, zero point 0.8 astronomical units from the jagged wastelands of planet Erden. Its hull groaned, scarred by Quorg plasma and kinetic rounds, but auxiliary thrusters held steady, casting a faint blue glow against the moon's cratered surface. Emergency lights flickered across the bridge. Where Captain Zephyra stood, her olive skin taut with fatigue, braid half unraveled. Her scar itched faintly, a reminder of survival as she scanned damage reports. 87 crew left, systems at 40%. The human fleet shadowed them, 6 destroyers led by the Titan's resolve, their silver-gray hulls orbiting like predators circling a wounded beast. Admiral Rowan's flagship dwarfed the Voyager, its railguns capable of firing slugs at 12 kilometers per second, silent but primed. Inside the Voyager's command deck, the air was thick with ozone and tension. The Solara crew worked in quiet efficiency, patching consoles and rerouting power, but their glances toward the human Marines betrayed unease. Galactic lore painted humans as a dangerous species, their history stained by 7 major interstellar wars in a century. Zephyra met Rowan aboard the Titan's Resolve, shuttling over in a patched skiff. The human flagship's interior gleamed, polished alloy corridors, holographic tactical maps pulsing with data. Rowan greeted her, a tall figure in a gray uniform, his weathered face framed by close-cropped white hair. His eyes, sharp as a targeting laser, assessed her with respect, but no warmth. "Captain," he said, voice clipped, "your ship's a mess, but you held. Impressive." She nodded, keeping her stance firm. "We're not done. Those pirates will regroup." Her pulse pistol hung heavy at her hip, a reminder of the fight still burning. Rowan gestured to a holo display showing Quorg Space. "We tracked their frigates to a derelict station, 3 kilometers wide, orbiting a gas giant. 200 fighters minimum. My fleet's ready, but we're stronger together." He offered 50 Marines, their exosuits equipped with 500 kilonewton thrusters, to bolster the Voyager's pursuit. Zephyra hesitated. The Solara crew whispered of human recklessness, of worlds burned in their wars. But the Quorg threat loomed larger. "Joint command," she countered. "My ship, my terms." Rowan's jaw tightened, then he nodded. A fragile pact took root. Back on the Voyager, Commander Kale voiced caution. His broad frame leaned over a console, gray eyes scanning human fleet specs. 7 wars, Captain. They're not diplomats. Their railguns outmatch ours, but their history screams risk. His fingers paused, rerouting shield power to stabilize the hull. Lieutenant Lyra, at her tactical station, countered with data. Her pale blue eyes flicked across readouts. "Their weapons are efficient, Railguns hit harder than our lasers. Same yield as Solara heavy cannons. We could use that. She plotted the station's coordinates, sensors locking on its faint emissions, a fortress of twisted metal and stolen tech. The combined fleet, 12 ships now, human and Solara, set course for the gas giant, 1.2 astronomical units out. Joint drills began, but friction flared. Solara gunners favored precision laser bursts. Humans preferred saturation torpedo volleys. A drill misfire nearly scorched a Voyager turret, sparking shouts over comms. "Your people shoot like berserkers," a Solara tech snapped. A human marine retorted, "And yours aim like cowards." Zephyra silenced both, her voice a blade. But the rift lingered. The Voyager's quarters buzzed with repairs. Engineers welded hull breaches, sparks raining under low gravity. Human Marines patrolled alongside Solara security, their exosuits clanking against grated decks. One Marine, towering in armor, handed a Solara tech a nanite welder, human tech, faster than Solara tools. The gesture eased tension, but only just. Lyra's sensors pinged mid-transit. A pirate scout drone, cloaked at 90% signal dampening, drifted too close. She fired a micro-drone, its explosive core detonating in a silent flash. The scout's wreckage spun away, but not before broadcasting a signal. "They know we're coming," Lyra said, her wiry frame tense. "Ambush, likely." Zephyra paced the bridge, her boots clicking on scorched plating. "Prep all turrets. Sync with human fire control." Cal adjusted the arrays, shields climbing to 50% as power stabilized. The crew moved faster now, purpose overriding doubt. 87 survivors, hardened by fire, readied rifles and checked laser capacitors. The gas giant loomed on screens, its amber bands swirling with storms. The pirate station orbited its equator, a jagged silhouette against the planet's glow. 3 kilometers of reinforced alloy, bristling with stolen plasma cannons and fighter bays. 200 Quorg fighters waited inside, their engines warming for a trap. Rowan's voice crackled through. "Captain, my destroyers will draw their fire. Your ship's scans are sharper. Guide us in." Zephyra agreed, her console relaying real-time data to the Titan's resolve. The human fleet fanned out, railguns charging with a deep hum, torpedoes loaded, 10-kiloton yields primed. The Voyager's turrets pivoted, lasers humming at full charge. Lyra's scans pierced the station's interference, mapping its defenses. 8 orbital turrets, each mounting antimatter warheads. Cal rerouted auxiliary power, boosting sensors to track fighter launches. The Solara crew manned stations, their earlier hesitation burned away by the looming fight. A human destroyer took point, its ablative shields flaring as a pirate turret fired. The warhead detonated, a white-hot pulse absorbed by layered plating. Return fire followed, and railgun slugs tore through the turret, reducing it to slag. 7 more remained, their barrels tracking. Zephyra's scar settled, her focus absolute. She directed Lyra to prep cloaked shuttles, each fitted with 90% signal dampening. A strike team would infiltrate the station, targeting its core. Kyle volunteered to lead, his caution now tempered by resolve. 30 operatives, half Solara, half human, armed with pulse rifles and nanite grenades, prepped in the hangar. The fleet closed, the gas giant filling screens. Pirate fighters launched, their spiked hulls darting like wasps. Human torpedoes met them, explosions blooming in silent chains. The Voyager's lasers carved precise arcs, disabling a fighter's engine in a shower of molten alloy. But the station's defenses tightened. Plasma lances stabbed out, grazing a human destroyer's flank. Hull plates vaporized, venting debris. Rowan's voice stayed calm. "Hold formation. We've got this." Zephyra gripped her console, braids swinging as she leaned forward. Lyra, get those shuttles ready. Kyle, move fast. The strike team boarded, cloaks engaged, their craft slipping into the void like ghosts. The station loomed closer, its turrets swiveling. The Allied fleet pressed, humans and Solara bound by necessity. Quorg Space watched, its shadows alive with menace. No rest waited, only the fight. The gas giant's amber storms churned across the Voyager's view screens, its rings a faint shimmer against the void. The Quorg pirate station loomed ahead, a 3-kilometer fortress of jagged alloy orbiting the planet's equator. Its surface bristled with stolen plasma cannons, their barrels tracking the Allied fleet, 12 ships, human and Solara, closing in tight formation. Captain Zafira stood on the bridge, her olive skin taut under emergency lights, braid frayed from relentless hours. Her scar lay quiet, resolved now into a honed edge. Lieutenant Lyra's fingers danced over her console, her pale blue eyes locked on tactical scans. She devised the infiltration plan. 4 cloaked shuttles, each with 90% signal dampening to slip past the station's defenses. The shuttles carried 30 operatives, 15 Solara, 15 human, led by Commander Kyle, whose broad frame now filled a combat harness. His gray eyes, once cautious, burned with focus as he checked his pulse rifle, its magazine loaded with armor-piercing bolts. The Voyager held back, its scarred hull patched but fragile, shields at 50%. Zephyra coordinated real-time scans, feeding data to Admiral Rowan's Titan Resolve. The human destroyers took point, their silver-gray hulls weaving through the station's outer defenses. 8 orbital turrets, each armed with antimatter warheads, spat white-hot pulses. A human ship countered, railguns firing slugs at 12 kilometers per second. One turret erupted, its wreckage spinning into the gas giant's gravity well. Kyle's shuttles launched, cloaks bending light to near invisibility. They threaded through debris fields, dodging sensor pings. Inside, operatives gripped nanite grenades, each a palm-sized sphere capable of dissolving metal, and pulse rifles set to rapid fire. Cal's voice crackled over comms, steady. Target the station's core. Disable their power grid. The team braced as their craft skimmed the station's hull, magnetic clamps locking onto a maintenance hatch. Zephyra watched the shuttle's signatures fade into static. Her console hummed, mapping the station's layout. A labyrinth of corridors, fighter bays housing 200 Quorg craft, and a fortified reactor core. Lyra, keep scans tight, she ordered. Track their fighters. Lyra's scans caught movement. 50 Quorg fighters launching, their spiked hulls darting like hornets. The Voyager's turrets fired, 50 megajoule lasers slicing through one craft's engine, sending it spiraling into the giant's atmosphere. Human destroyers answered with torpedoes, 10 kiloton yield, shredding a dozen fighters in silent blooms of fire. But the station's turrets adjusted, targeting a human ship. An antimatter warhead struck, shearing off a destroyer's bow. Debris scattered, glowing briefly before fading. Inside the station, Kale's team breached the hatch. The corridor beyond was a claustrophobic maze, walls patched with stolen plating. Pirates ambushed from cloaked alcoves, their fields shimmering as they lunged with vibro axes. Kale fired, his rifle's bolts punching through scales. A human operative tossed a nanite grenade. It detonated, melting a pirate's armor into slag. The team advanced, boots crunching over debris, air thick with the tang of scorched metal. Lyra hacked the station's network from the Voyager, her console bypassing crude Quorg encryption. She pinpointed the pirate leader's bunker, buried deep behind reinforced blast doors. Kyle, coordinates sent, she said, voice clipped. Bunkers 3 levels down, heavy defenses. Her scans also caught power spikes, 50 elite pirate guards, cybernetic implants boosting their speed, converging on the team. Kyle's squad hit resistance at a junction. Pirates materialized, cloaking fields flickering as they fired kinetic rifles. A Solara operative fell, chest pierced by slugs. A human marine retaliated, exosuit thrusters roaring as he charged, slamming a raider into a wall with bone-crunching force. Kell ordered an EMP burst, a risky pulse from a handheld device. It surged, disabling 60% of the station's internal defenses. Cameras, turrets, and cloaks went dark. But it drained their own shields, leaving the team exposed. Outside, Rowan's fleet pressed the assault. The Titan's resolve targeted another turret, its railguns shredding the emplacement in a shower of molten alloy. 6 turrets remained, their warheads grazing human shields. A destroyer vented atmosphere, but held formation, torpedoes countering in rippling salvos. The Quorg fighters tightened their swarm, plasma guns stitching the void with crimson arcs. Zephyra's hands gripped her console, directing laser fire to thin the fighter swarm. The Voyager's shields flickered at 40%, absorbing stray hits. "Rowan, focus turrets," she said over comms. "We'll handle the fighters." A laser pulse caught a Quorg craft, vaporizing its cockpit. The fleet's coordination tightened, human and Solara systems syncing seamlessly. Kyle's team reached the bunker level, corridors narrowing into choke points. 50 elite guards waited, their cybernetic arms wielding plasma blades that burned through alloy. Cal ducked a swing, his rifle barking in return. A human marine took a hit, exosuit sparking but holding, 15 casualties now, but the team pushed forward. Nanite grenades cleared a path, dissolving bulkheads in clouds of metallic dust. Lyra's hack deepened, overloading the station's shield grid. The bunker's defenses flickered, exposing its blast doors. "Kyle, you're clear," she signaled. The team planted charges, shaped explosives, and tore through the doors in a flash of white heat. Inside, the pirate leader, a hulking Quorg with augmented limbs, stood ready, vibro blade humming. A broadcast crackled through the station's comms. The leader's voice, guttural and defiant, offered surrender. "Stand down, or we all burn." Zephyra's scar twitched, a trap. "Kyle, stay sharp," she ordered. "It's a ruse." The team pressed into the bunker, rifles sweeping. The leader lunged, blade arcing. Kyle parried with his rifle stock, sparks flying. A human marine fired, darts shredding the leader's armor. The Quorg staggered but fought on, cybernetics whirring. Outside, the station's turrets fired wildly, one warhead grazing the Voyager's flank, and shields dropped to 30%. Zephyra redirected power, stabilizing the ship. Lyra's scans showed the station's reactor spiking. Power grid was unstable from her hack. "Kyle, you've got minutes," she warned. The team cleared the bunker, securing control nodes. Pirates fell back, their numbers thinning, but the surrender broadcast looped, a distraction. Sensors caught 10 Quorg corvettes powering up, hidden in the station's bays. They launched, plasma cannons charging. The Allied fleet scrambled, a human destroyer taking a direct hit, 5 gigajoule impact, hull integrity down 20%. The trap was sprung. Zephyra's voice cut through the bridge. "All hands, brace for counterattack." The Voyager's turrets pivoted, lasers ready. Kyle's team held the bunker, but the station's core hummed louder, reactor warnings flashing. The fight wasn't over. Danger coiled tighter, the void holding its breath. The Quorg pirate station trembled, its reactor core spiking toward critical as corridors shook with distant explosions. The Allied fleet, 11 ships now, battered but resolute, faced a new threat. 10 Quorg corvettes, hidden in the station's bays, bursting into the void with plasma cannons blazing. Their 5 gigajoule lances tore through space, striking the Titan's resolve. The human flagship's ablative shields flared, absorbing the hit, but hull integrity dropped to 80%, debris spinning into the gas giant's amber storms. Captain Zephyra gripped the Voyager's command console, her olive skin slick with sweat, braid unraveling under strain. The bridge's emergency lights cast sharp shadows, consoles sparking from earlier damage. Her scar burned faintly, but her focus was iron. "Lyra, redirect turrets to those corvettes," she ordered, voice cutting through the chaos. The Voyager's shields flickered at 30%. Lasers charging for 50 megajoule pulses. Lieutenant Lyra, wiry frame braced at her station, rerouted power to weapons. Her pale blue eyes tracked the corvette's arcs, feeding data to human destroyers. 10 targets, evasive patterns, she reported. They're aiming for our engines. She tasked drones, 20 remaining, each with micro-explosives to intercept. One detonated, shredding a corvette's thruster in a silent flash of shrapnel. Outside, Admiral Rowan's fleet scrambled. A human destroyer took a direct hit, its bow crumpling under a plasma lance, venting atmosphere in a white plume. 6 ships held formation, railguns spitting slugs at 12 kilometers per second. A corvette exploded, its wreckage scattering across the gas giant's rings. But the Quorg ships pressed, their spiked hulls weaving through torpedo salvos. Inside the station, Commander Kale led his strike team through the bunker level, corridors choked with smoke and twisted metal. His broad frame moved with purpose, pulse rifles sweeping for threats, 50 elite Quorg guards, cybernetic implants boosting speed and strength, blocked their path to the reactor controls. A guard lunged, plasma blades searing the air. Kale dodged, his rifle barking bolts that punched through scales. A human marine tossed a nanite grenade. It dissolved a guard's arm in a cloud of metallic dust. The pirate leader, a hulking Quorg with augmented limbs, fought from the bunker's heart. His vibroblade hummed, parrying a marine strike. Kyle closed in, vibroblade drawn, a Solara-issue weapon, its edge vibrating at 10,000 cycles per second. Sparks flew as blades clashed, metal screeching. A human operative fired, flechettes shredding the leader's armor. He staggered, cybernetics sparking, but swung again, forcing Kale back. Lyra's voice crackled over comms. "Station reactor at 95% critical. You've got 8 minutes." Her hack had destabilized the grid, shields collapsing around the bunker. She redirected power from the Voyager's auxiliary systems, boosting scans to guide Kale's team. The bridge shook as a corvette's plasma grazed their hull, shields dropping to 25%. Zephyra made a snap call, her resolve now unbreakable. "Helm, ram that lead corvette. Kinetic impact, full thrusters." The Voyager surged, auxiliary engines roaring despite the strain. Its scarred prow struck the Quorg ship's flank, crumpling its hull in a silent crunch. The corvette spun, engines dead, drifting toward the gas giant's pull. Crew braced, deck plates rattling, but the ship held. Cal's team pushed deeper, clearing guards with coordinated fire. A Solara operative fell, plasma blade slicing through his chest. The team's numbers dwindled, 12 casualties, but they reached the reactor controls. Gauges glowed red, coolant lines hissing under pressure. The pirate leader lunged one last time, vibroblade arcing. Cal parried, then drove his blade into the Quorg's chest, severing cybernetic relays. The leader collapsed, Ecor pooling on the grated floor. Outside, the Allied fleet fought on. Rowan's destroyers launched torpedoes, 10 kiloton yields shattering 2 more corvettes. But the Quorg ships adapted, cloaking fields flickering to dodge railgun slugs. The Titan's resolve took another hit, missile volleys carving gashes in its flank. Rowan's voice stayed steady. "Hold the line. We've got their number." Lyra hacked the station's comms, broadcasting false retreat signals to scatter the corvettes. 3 broke formation, diving into the rings. Human railguns tracked, slugs punching through one's reactor in a bloom of fire. The Voyager's turrets fired relentlessly, 100 laser pulses per minute, thinning the swarm. Solara crew, inspired by human tenacity, manned auxiliary guns, their shots precise despite shaking hands. The station's reactor surged, warnings screaming across Kale's console. 97% critical. Vibrations rocked the bunker, panels buckling. He accessed the coolant override, fingers flying over controls. "We can delay it," he said, voice tight, "but someone's got to stay." Zephyra's heart clenched, but her voice didn't waver. "Kale, get your team out. Now." The bridge shook again, a corvette's plasma grazing their flank. Shields hit 20%. She turned to Lyra. "Prep evacuation shuttles. Prioritize survivors." Cal hesitated, then nodded. "I'll hold the override." "Go." His team retreated, dragging wounded through smoking corridors. Human Marines covered, exosuits jetting with 500 kilonewton thrusts. They sealed blast doors, slowing pursuing guards. But the reactor's hum grew deafening, core temp spiking past critical. Zephyra watched the station's signature flare on screens. 7 minutes to detonation, 10 megaton yield. "All hands evacuate," she ordered, voice steel. The Voyager's shuttles launched, carrying 25 Solara survivors. Human craft followed, high-speed units weaving through fighter swarms. Kale stayed, hands locked on the coolant controls. The station shook, conduits bursting in showers of sparks. His gray eyes held steady, caution burned away by duty. The override bought seconds, then minutes, delaying the blast. Outside, the fleet pulled back. A corvette charged the Voyager, plasma cannon charging. Zephyra directed a final laser volley, vaporizing its bridge. The Allied ships cleared the blast radius, but the station's core hit critical mass. Kale's comms went silent. The explosion lit the void, a white-hot star swallowing the station. Debris rained, pelting the gas giant's rings. Kale's team, heroes, were gone. Silence gripped the Voyager's bridge, broken only by the hum of strained systems. Zephyra's scar burned, but her jaw set. "Track the remaining corvettes," she said, voice low. "We finish this." Lyra nodded, scans locking on 3 fleeing ships. Rowan's destroyers, 6 now, formed up for pursuit, railguns humming. The void closed in, Quorg Space whispering vengeance. No rest, only the hunt. The gas giant's amber storms churned in the void, swallowing the remnants of the Quorg station's explosion. A 10-megaton blast had vaporized the fortress, its debris scattering like ash across the planet's rings. The Aurora Voyager drifted at the edge of the blast radius, its scarred hull trembling under flickering shields, now at 18%. Captain Zafira stood rigid on the bridge, her olive skin pale under emergency lights, braid fully unraveled. Her scar pulsed with the weight of loss, but her eyes burned with resolve. Commander Kale's sacrifice echoed in the silence, his final act delaying the reactor's collapse to save them all. Lieutenant Lyra's hands shook at her console, pale blue eyes scanning for the 3 remaining Quorg corvettes. Her wiry frame leaned forward, rerouting power to sensors. "They're diving into the asteroid belt, 0.4 AU out," she reported. "Cloaking field's active, but I've got partial locks." She hacked their comms, broadcasting false retreat signals to disrupt their formation. 1 corvette veered, exposing itself to the Allied fleet. Admiral Rowan's 6 destroyers, battered but lethal, pursued. The Titan's resolve led, its railguns charging with a deep hum. A slug fired 15 kilometers per second, punching through the exposed corvette's reactor. It erupted in a silent bloom, debris spinning into the belt. The other 2 ships tightened their cloaks, weaving through asteroids to evade. Rowan's voice crackled over comms. "Captain, we'll flush them. Keep your scans tight." Zephyra nodded, her voice steel. "Lyra, prioritize targeting data. All turrets, stand by. The Voyager's lasers hummed, capacitors charging for 50 megajoule pulses. The Solara crew, 87 survivors, worked with grim focus, manning auxiliary guns. Their earlier hesitation was gone, forged into unity by Kyle's loss and human ferocity. Inside the asteroid belt, the corvette struck back. Plasma lances, 5 gigajoule yields, lashed out, grazing a human destroyer's flank. Its ablative shields absorbed 70% of the hit, but hull plates buckled, venting sparks. The fleet countered, torpedoes streaking through the void. A 10-kiloton warhead caught the second corvette, shredding its engines. It spun, crashing into an asteroid in a shower of molten alloy. The final corvette doubled back, aiming for the Voyager. Its plasma cannon charged, a crimson glow building. Zephyra's scar twitched. Helm, evasive pattern beta. Lyra, fire now. The ship lurched, auxiliary thrusters straining. Lasers spat, 100 pulses per minute, carving the corvette's bridge. It was listed, defenseless, as a human railgun slug finished it, piercing clean through at 15 kilometers per second. The wreck drifted, silent in the void. The fleet regrouped, human destroyers forming a loose cordon around the Voyager. 25 Solara survivors, extracted from the station by human shuttles, huddled in the cargo bay. Their faces, etched with grief and awe, met human Marines, whose exosuits still smoked from combat. A Marine offered a Solara medic a nanite patch, sealing a wound with molecular precision. The gesture, small but heavy, bridged the gap. Zephyra paced the bridge, boots clicking on scorched plating. Kale's absence was a wound, but duty pressed harder. Lyra, damage report, she said, voice low but firm. Shields at 15%. Hull breaches sealed, but engines are at half capacity, Lyra replied, her scan sweeping for stragglers. No active Quorg signatures. They're gone. Rowan's image flickered on the view screen, his weathered face grim. We've cleared the belt, Captain. Your man's sacrifice gave us the edge. What's your next move? Zephyra's jaw tightened. We return to Solara system, repair, regroup, and hunt any Quorg left. She paused, the weight of Kale's loss settling. Your fleet's with us? Rowan nodded. To the end. The Voyager's engines coughed, pushing toward a jump point 1.2 AU out. The human fleet flanked, their railguns cooling but ready. The Solara crew worked in silence, patching systems, checking rifles. A young engineer, barely trained, clutched a slug rifle, his hands steadier now. Kyle's shadow lingered, but his sacrifice had lit a fire. Trust between species, forged in blood. Lyra's console pinged, confirming the jump coordinates. Solara station in range, Captain. ETA 6 hours. She adjusted the sensors, ensuring no Quorg traps waited. Her promotion to commander loomed. Her tactical brilliance was undeniable. Zephyra stood at the bridge's center, the gas giant fading on screens. The void felt heavier, Quorg Space's threats not fully silenced. But the Alliance held, human and Solara, bound by loss and victory. She touched her scar, its burn now a quiet pulse. Set course, she said. Full burn. The fleet jumped, engines flaring like distant suns. The Voyager's hull groaned but held, its crew united. Human Marines stood watch, their exosuits a testament to shared resolve. The Solara system waited, a beacon of order in the chaos. In the cargo bay, a Solara tech and a human Marine exchanged quiet words, their hands brushing as they passed a tool. A spark of connection, fleeting but real, amid the wreckage. The crew mourned Kyle, his name unspoken but carved into their purpose. Zephyra's gaze locked on the stars. The Quorg were broken, their station ash, their ships scattered. But the void never slept. The hunt would continue, and humanity, dangerous, relentless, stood with them. The bridge hummed, system stabilizing as the fleet surged toward home. The Aurora Voyager emerged from warp, its battered hull catching the soft glow of the Solara System's star, 1.2 astronomical units from a gleaming orbital station. The station's polished spires stretched like fingers into the void, a hub of 12 allied planets humming with life. The ship's engines sputtered, auxiliary thrusters guiding it into dock alongside Admiral Rowan's 6 human destroyers. Their silver-gray hulls, scarred from Quorg plasma, gleamed with quiet menace. Railguns, silent but ever ready. Captain Zephyra stood on the bridge, her olive skin marked by days of strain, loose black hair spilling over her shoulders. Her scar, once a burning reminder, now lay still, a badge of survival. The crew, 87 Solara survivors and a detachment of human marines, worked in sync, securing the ship. Consoles flickered, systems stabilizing at 60% as engineers welded the last hull breaches. Lieutenant Lyra, now Commander Lyra, oversaw repairs, her wiry frame moving with newfound authority. Her pale blue eyes scanned readouts, integrating human shield tech, 80% efficiency, into the Voyager's battered defenses. The Solara crew, once wary of their dangerous allies, now shared tools and nods with the humans, their bond forged in Kale's sacrifice. Zephyra shuttled to the station, meeting Rowan in a stark conference chamber. His weathered face softened slightly, gray uniform crisp despite the battles. Holomaps spun between them, charting 10 unexplored star systems for a joint expedition. "The Solara Alliance welcomes humanity," Rowan said, voice firm. 4 billion of us, 12 planets of yours, partners, not rivals." Zephyra nodded. Her earlier doubts burned away. She'd been a hesitant leader, rattled by the Quorg ambush. Now she stood resolute, a captain tempered by fire. The station buzzed with activity. Solara techs and human engineers collaborated, merging railgun designs with laser arrays. A Solara medic and a human marine lingered in a corridor, their hands brushing over a shared tablet, data on shield harmonics, but their glances held more. A quiet spark, born in shared survival, flickered in the sterile light. Lyra joined Zephyra on the station's observation deck, the star's light framing her wiry silhouette. "Shields are upgraded, Captain," she reported. "Human techs integrated. We're ready for the next run." Her promotion was official, her tactical brilliance now guiding the fleet's future. Zephyra clasped her shoulder, pride unspoken but clear. A memorial gathered 200 souls, Solara and human, in the station's central plaza. Kale's name hung heavy, his sacrifice the alloy binding their alliance. A hollow statue flickered to life. Kale at the reactor controls, gray eyes steady, hands delaying doom. Crew stood in silence, rifles lowered, exosuits still. A Solara engineer wept quietly. A human marine gripped his shoulder, a gesture crossing species. Zephyra spoke, her voice carrying across the plaza. "We came to Quorg Space as explorers, seeking peace. We found war, loss, and a truth. Humanity, called dangerous, fought for us. Kyle gave everything to prove we're stronger together. This alliance, Solara, human, 4 billion souls across 12 worlds, carries his fire. We'll map the stars not for conquest, but for trust, for hope." Her words, simple but heavy, echoed Kale's resolve. Her own growth from doubt to pride mirrored in the crew's faces. The Voyager, repaired and gleaming, prepared to launch. Its hybrid shields hummed, a fusion of Solara precision and human durability. The crew boarded, Solara uniforms mingling with human fatigues. A young engineer, once trembling with a rifle, now checked laser capacitors with steady hands. Lyra took the tactical helm, her console plotting the expedition's course, 10 star systems, uncharted voids waiting. Rowan's fleet formed up, destroyers flanking the Voyager like sentinels. Their railguns, cooled but loaded, promised protection. The station's spires faded as the ships pulled away, engines flaring against the star's glow. Zephyra stood on the bridge, her loose hair a quiet rebellion against her old discipline. She touched her scar, its silence a testament to battles won. The void stretched ahead, no longer a threat but a canvas. Quorg Space's shadows lingered, but the Alliance, human ferocity, and Solara's resolve stood ready. Zephyra's gaze settled on the stars, her voice soft but firm. Engage jump drives. Let's find what's next. The Voyager leaped, its wake a promise of unity. The cosmos waited, vast and alive.